Hello and welcome to one and all. The eighth match of the 12th edition of ICC Women's Cricket World Cup was played today between India and New Zealand, which New Zealand went on to win by 62 runs. Mithali Raj, captaining the 150th ODI for India, won the toss and elected to bowl. Batting first, New Zealand posted a competitive score of 260 for 9 in 50 overs, riding on twin half-centuries from Amy Satterthwaite and Amelia Kerr. For India, it was Pooja Vastrakar who was the pick of the bowlers as she picked up 4 for 34 in her 10 overs and received good support from Rajeshwari Gaikwad, who chipped in with 2 wickets. In reply, India could manage 198 as they were bundled out in 46.4 overs. India's vice-captain Harmanpreet Kaur top-scored with 71 runs off 63 balls but could not find an able ally to lead the side home. For New Zealand, it was Amelia Kerr and Leah Tahuhu who accounted for 3 wickets each, and Hayley Jensen chipped in with 2. So after this match, we can see that India have won 1 out of the 2 matches in their World Cup campaign so far, while New Zealand have won 2 out of the 3 matches. So ahead of us, we have yet another exciting contest, and it is going to be played between Pakistan and South Africa. The match will be played tomorrow, that is 11th of March, and it will be played at the Bay Oval in Mount Maunganui. The match will start at 6:30 a.m. Indian Standard Time, and you can catch all the live action on Star Sports and Disney Plus Hotstar. So to talk more about what could probably happen in this exciting contest between Pakistan and South Africa, I have with me Dinesha Devnarayan, Lezo Gopui, and Dhanush Lavanya. So Dinesha Devnarayan is a former captain of South Africa women's cricket team and has played more than 50 international matches for South Africa. In 2020, she became the head coach of South Africa women's under-19 team and has been coaching the girls since then. Lizogo Pui, who likes to be called as Lee, is an avid cricket writer and an experienced cricket presenter. She was also the media manager for the South Africa team when they toured India in the year 2019. And Dhanush Lavanya is a content writer at Female Cricket. So I welcome all of you to Female Cricket Live.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
Great. It's a pleasure to have you. All right. So, Dinesha, South Africa began their campaign on a positive note. On 5th of March, they defeated Bangladesh by 32 runs. So, your first thoughts on South Africa's performance in the
Thank you.
first match?
Yeah, look, I'll take the win. Um, I think we all as South Africans will take the win. But if I must be really honest, and I know that this is a chat that will go around the camp as well, is that we weren't our best, especially in the batting department. Um, I think there's a lot of areas that we need to improve on. We need to get better at. Um, Look, I thought from the batting front, yes, we did. We were probably about 50 runs short. And I still believe in the bowling department, knowing the caliber of bowlers that we have. Um, I think they were a little bit too wide, and knowing the pace attack, they'll be very critical of themselves. They'll be very hard on themselves. We want to go on that fourth line, and maybe just present the ball a little bit fuller. I think that's going to be key. But yeah, I mean, let's take the win. We got points on the board, which is a crucial thing at the beginning of a competition. But I would suspect there'll be lots of improvements or lots of areas that we'll look to rectify in the next game.
So, like how Dinesh has said, South Africa didn't have the perfect game in the first match against a relatively new side who are making their debut in Bangladesh. And as far as if we look at the batting performances, there were a number of players who got their starts, but unfortunately weren't able to convert those starts into big scores. Like how we saw Laura Walworth got 41, then Karp got 42, and a few others like Sunil, who's the captain, she also got 25 runs, but they all couldn't convert those into 80s or even hundreds. So, how important is it for these batsmen to make sure they stay there on the crease for a long time so that the scoreboard also increases and their performances also develop? I guess there is a connection issue with Lee. So the question moves on to Dinesha. So how do you respond to this?
Yeah, look, I think it's got to be application of that in. I would probably say the difficult part is getting those starts. So then we do the difficult part really well. It's just being able to kick on, and with that comes partnerships. If you look at the attacking brand we were playing, it wasn't really attacking brand. we just sort of waited for the Bangladesh women to bowl badly at us. Uh, where I would have loved to seen, especially in that power play or the first 20 overs, we were hitting over the top, we set in our own fields, and isn't that how we get to big hundreds? So it's something in the batting department didn't click. And look, a loss of wickets is definitely going to put breaks in any partnership you're trying to build. And whenever we got somewhere, something else happened again. But yeah, I think to rectify is it. I mean, there's not much we can do at nets. I mean, we all know that the South African women's team, especially the batters that we have in the team, are world class players. It's just about applying yourselves, knowing your weaknesses, knowing your strengths, buy into your batting game plan and see it through. We need two or three players that's going to see that batting department through, so we can get to a 260, 270 score.
So, Dinesh, as you are talking about batting, I am sure that you and of course the entire South African country will be happy that Lizzle Lee is going to be available for the match tomorrow against Pakistan. Lizzle Lee had a wonderful 2021. She scored more than 600 runs, averaging 90 and a strike rate of a healthy 80. So how big boost is Lizzle Lee's availability going to be for South Africa?
Oh, it's massive. It's massive. I think we can see it a little bit with the inexperience of Tasman Brits up front there. But I'm so keen to see Lizelle back on the field, opening with Laura Wolfart. She just brings a different element, isn't it? I mean, we always know Lizelle Lee to be this big power hitter and score runs quickly. And I think that's what we're missing as well. So, I mean, the boost in the camp, I know already seen on social media, speaking to some of the girls, it's massive having a player like that. And it will be great if she scores 600 runs in a World Cup. I think that will put us in a very good position.
Absolutely, Dinesha. After all, Lizzie Lee was awarded the ICC ODI Cricketer of the Year in 2021. So she has big shoes to fill, and with the experience she brings in, certainly she is going to do that. Now let us move into the bowling unit of South Africa, because because they are going to play against Pakistan, who are not so good when it comes to batting. They are a side who are not, who take it very slow when it comes to pacing the innings or anything. Because we saw in the last game against Australia, they were 44 for 4 at one stage, and then they had a very good partnership between Bisma Maroof and Ali Arias, and that took them to 190. So with a weak batting link, against a weak batting unit like Pakistan, how important will these bowlers of South Africa, like Ismail, like Ayabonga Kakashi, has been exceptional, and the spinners will be, how lethal are they going to be?
Yeah, it's gonna be a good contest. And I tell you why, because we were bitterly disappointed, even though we won the match against Bangladesh women. Like I said in my opening statement, I know that the girls missed their mark by quite a few of the areas that we pride ourselves in. So I feel like they're gonna come out guns blazing. You might see a little bit a change in pace. And when I say that, that's going to be from the aggression front. I think they're going to come in guns blazing, looking to hit good areas, making the batters play all the time. And I think it's important for us as the bowling attack. From the warm up games to our first opening match, we haven't really torn through a side. And I mean, this is a good platform for us to do it against the Pakistan ladies. As you mentioned, they're not probably the strongest suities they bat in. So, just leading up to the World Cup and where we want to end up with this competition, and hopefully that's the trophy back home, is that we've got to be at their faces all the time, especially from the front, from the pace attack. Look, in terms of Ayabonga, I mean, she's just crazy. I mean, her growth over the last year has been magnificent, and I don't think she would change much. She will look to still stick to her lines and lengths, make the batters make the mistake, and yeah, I think the bowlers, I mean, the plans are going to be much more refined in this game, and they're going to look to execute a lot better.
Of course, and I think through this conversation we are talking about South Africa, but let us get some perspective on Pakistan team from Dhanush. So, Dhanush, if we see the head-to-head statistics of South Africa and Pakistan, South Africa have been dominating with 18 wins to Pakistan's 4 wins in the ODI format. And as you mentioned about Bisma Maroof and Alia Riaz scoring those wonderful half centuries in the last match against Australia, it will be definitely a moment of confidence for the Pakistani camp. But how do you see Pakistan batting shaping up? Because in the first match which Pakistan played against India, there was an opening pair in Sidra Amin and Zaveria Khan. Then in the second match against Australia, we saw Sidra Amin opening with Nahida Khan. So, do you see the same opening pair? And your thoughts about Pakistan's bowling and how they can take on South African bowling?
Overall, if I see the performance of Pakistan in the first two games against India and Australia, respectively, against India it was a performance where the bowlers were exceptional for 25 overs, and then they gave up the match because Pooja Vastrikar and Sneh Rana did the most unexpected things, getting that 100-run partnership. And as far as the batting against India was, it was lifeless, like I've said multiple times, because that team wasn't having that intent, like how India wasn't having intent today against New Zealand to score those 245 target that India had chased. So now, then coming to the Australia's match between against Pakistan, I was happy that at least Pakistan were able to finish those 50 overs with the bat, because 190 for 6 may be a very low score, maybe way below par than what actually the conditions suited for. But they will be happy that they were able to play the 50 overs against a very good bowling unit in Australia. And also, with as far as you said, the batting unit is concerned, they have to decide on who the opening pair is going to be, because Sidra Amin has been a consistent player. She has scored 30s and all this stuff, but not big scores. But her partner, whoever has been coming, if I'm not wrong, since 2021, they have changed like five different pairs of opening batters. So they have to stick into one specific batting pair when it comes to opening, and they have to make sure that they get a good opening start. And Bisma Maroof, she will be extremely happy with the performance that she gave against Australia, against a bowling unit like them, 78. Even though she took 122 balls, but as far as the situation is concerned, that they went 44 for 4, they needed someone who should have stood there and played that long innings, and she did that for sure. As far as if I talk about the bowling, they didn't have a good support from the pace attack in the second game. None of the pacers like Fatima Sana or Diana Baig took a wicket, but the spinners like Nashra Sandhu and Omenia Sohail, they got in a few wickets in. So it's now the responsibility of the seamers to make sure that they step up, because the spinners are really good in this side. Lee, now let us move on to let us talk about the bowling unit of South Africa. Ayabonga Kaka has been extremely good, 4 wickets in the previous match, in the first match against Bangladesh. And as we were talking to Dinesha, Pakistan's batting is very weak compared to any other batting team in this tournament. So, how important is it for South African bowlers to be on their best against Pakistan so that they can have an easy match?
Yeah, they definitely need to be at their best, especially when we look at the first game that we played against Bangladesh. Ideally, you would love to see your Shibi as well as Marizan Cup coming in and getting those early wickets, especially in the first power play of the game. And so we didn't see that. We saw Ayabonga Kaka coming in and breaking that partnership after that first the balls that Marizan and Shibi played. So what we want to see from the bowler specifically against Pakistan is getting those early wickets, especially in the power play. That is important, and so that they could be able to support Sunay Lees as well as Chloe Tryon, and also seeing Ayabonga Kaka. Especially, we need to see her be able to be consistent and be economical. I always tease Ayabonga Kaka and call her the economical queen, because that's what you always expect to see from Ayabonga. And that's what I'm expecting to see from her, to continue with her consistency. But she definitely needs support from your experienced bowlers like Shibi. But one thing that we have seen in the past games that South Africa has played against Pakistan, especially here at home, Shabnam Ismail has been really good with the ball, especially against Pakistan. And that's what I'm expecting to see from her moving into this next game against Pakistan.
Correct. So, Dinesha, as we are talking about South Africa's bowling, which is definitely solid on paper, and of course, as Lee mentioned about Ayabonga Kaka being the economical queen, she has had a fantastic 2022 so far, 5 matches, 14 wickets. She has been incredible. So, in the last match against Bangladesh, we saw South Africa going ahead with 3 seamers in Kaap, Ismail, and Kaka, and 2 spinners in Liu and Tryon. Do you see the same bowling combination being played against Pakistan, or do you see a different combination?
Yeah, I'd like to see another spinner in Nonkululeko come into the attack. And maybe we can drop one of the pace bowlers. I would just like to see a change in pace, and maybe also that I know that we have two. Well, we got lefty as a left armour. We've got Chloe as the left armour, and we've got Sune as the ball that goes away. So I would just like to see a more specialized skill, as in Nonkululeko Mlaba, to just come as a bowling specialist to see how she can take the game further. I do believe that the change of pace will make a big difference. And look, Nonkululeko Mlapa did really well against Pakistan when we had the series at home in Durban. Yeah, I just think just to change it up a bit, maybe get some overs under her belt to see where she and her World Cup campaign is going. But yeah, I don't see much of a difference in the bowling attack. I don't see much changes. Let me put it that way. Just the fact, maybe just one change, and let's see what we can abstract out of that day. Because at the end of the day, the closer we get to the World Cup round robin games or the semi-finals and finals, we want people to have enough game time under their belt to make sure that whoever we select on the day is going to do the job.
Absolutely. One or two is okay, but too many changes will affect the whole mindset of the side and the performance as well. So Lee, one thing that I had seen in the previous match of South Africa versus Bangladesh was South Africa lost their sixth wicket at 190, and they were bowled out for 207. So they lost their last five wickets in just 17 runs. How important it is for the lower order batsmen to make sure that they stay there on the wicket for sure for the long time, or for the 50 overs, because South Africa were all out for 48.4, if I'm not wrong, and because they had an opportunity to score 240 in that match, but unfortunately they bowled out to 207. How do you see the lower order batting stepping up in the upcoming games?
Yeah, I think I see them fully stepping up, especially in this next game against Pakistan. I think what the first game did against Bangladesh, it really exposed some of the areas in which we need to work at. And number one, that is the rotation of strike. One thing that I've picked up is that we lack rotating strike. And those occasional ones and those even occasional boundaries that you get from those bad balls, that needs to happen. But we saw a high rate of dot ball percentage, and I think that's affecting the overall final score. And that's why we even saw that the final score was 207. And also, and I think one thing that we need to look at is just that number 3 position, because I think one thing we know is that there's a high possibility of Lizelle Lee coming back. And so our question would be then, who would come in and take that number 3 spot? Will they leave it to Laura Wolvaart, or I mean, not Laura Wolvaart, Laura Goodall, or will they give maybe a Tasman Brits to come in and try her luck at number 3 position? So I think that's something that we need to see, whether they'll, because I mean, it will be Laura Wolvaart that opens with Lizelle Lee, and I think that's a really good combination. And especially what we've seen in the past, they really built a good solid foundation for South Africa to build on as far as the innings are concerned. And so we just have to be able to see who comes in at number 3. But that number 3 spot is very crucial because that allows us to build those middle innings so that we could set ourselves up for a really good score, which is about 260, 270. And looking at how the other teams are playing, especially the big nations like Australia, they're putting in some really high scores. And if we want to set ourselves up to be able to compete against Australia later on, and England and New Zealand, we need to be able to put up a score of 260 plus. And so I think that will boil down to the partnerships that we build early on, and being able to rotate strike quite easily. Because I mean, we need to go back to the basics. The basics are important, and that's what I'd love to see from South Africa.
Yes, Lee, you're very right in saying that Lizelle Lee will be a big boost for South Africa, and we are all excited to see Lee playing tomorrow's match against Pakistan. So, Dinesha, South Africa played their last match on 5th of March against Bangladesh, of course, in the World Cup opener. And after a gap of 5 days, they're going to play against Pakistan, that is tomorrow. So, how do you think the team would have used this break? Because in a tournament like a World Cup, do you think this break of 5 days is good or bad? What do you think about it?
Yeah, no, I think it's good. I think it's good that we got some time to reflect. Knowing the girls and knowing the coaching staff, they would have been a little bit disappointed, even though we got points on the board from Bangladesh. But because we had so much enough, or we had enough preparation time, we can get down to the nitty gritties that Liseko spoke about. So that strike rotation is a very important one for me. And you match your one ratio against your dot ball percentage ratio, and then you look at the opposition you played and where you want to go in the competition. That's what gives us a week to do. So it's just sort of like, oh, the first one's out the way. Let's identify these areas. So we talk about dot ball, we talk about partnership. Where's our one options? We play another subcontinent side. Probably a lot of spin gonna come at us again. What are our options? Where's our sweep options? Is there reverse sweep options? Are we going to use our feet a lot more? What is the wicket or what is the surface telling us how to do? Because we will be blind if we're not taking the conditions into consideration. So we've been there for a while now. Hopefully, we got accustomed to those conditions. We can play better, smart cricket so that we actually give a platform where 260 and 270 becomes par. Because, I mean, if we have wickets in hand, with partnership, shouldn't we get to the 300 mark? So I'm hoping that those are the conversations we're having in the dressing room, as to say, you know what, this middle over period is mine. I'm going to run hard between the wickets. I'm putting the spinners under pressure. I'm going to take that responsibility. And I hope that we're having one-on-one discussions where players are saying, okay, that's my role. That's my job. That's my duty. I'm going to go and do that. So it's sort of like everything falls in place. It's not just said in the air and yes, we want to get to a 280, we want to get to the 300s, but how are we going to get there? Are we breaking down the game in segments to say, let's achieve this year for us to get there? So I'm hoping that the break was good. And yeah, I'm looking for a really good, exciting match. I'm waking up 3 o'clock in the morning, lots of coffee. I'm going to watch this game. And yeah, hopefully it's a really good one and everything that we chat in comes a fold in.
Absolutely. And you are right in the as far as adapting into the conditions, because there is not much of a difference between a South African condition and a New Zealand condition, if I'm not wrong, Dinesha. So, Lee, the question for you is how this match for South Africa is going to be important, because they are playing against Bangladesh. They played the first match against Bangladesh, and now they are playing against Pakistan. If you see the if you see the whole 8 teams that are there in this tournament, these two are maybe the most easiest ones when it comes to beating them and winning them against. Now that after this game they have big matches against England, India, Australia, New Zealand, how important is this win going to be for South Africa?
It's going to be crucial. I think what this game against Pakistan is going to do is it's going to give us an opportunity to see just how switched on the team is and how badly they want this World Cup. And what I'd love to see from them is really just seeing all the areas from the bowling to the fielding to the batting really come together in this game against Pakistan. I think it's going to set the tone to how we're going to be able to play the other games. I think we can be, lenient on how they played against Bangladesh, because it was their very first game in this tournament, and so you can imagine there are nerves, first match nerves, and so there are some mistakes that happen in between from the bowling to the batting and the fielding. But I think the second game against Pakistan will really set the tone, and we will be able to see how far South Africa can make it into this competition based on the game that we're going to see against Pakistan, because they've had, like Danisha said, they've had some time to rest. They've probably even had time to really plan and be able to execute their plans accordingly. And based on the conversations that they've had prior to this game that they're going to play against Pakistan, I think it's going to show us at how good they can execute their plans in this next game. And so it's going to be crucial, it's going to be important, and I'm going to be just like Danisha. I'm going to stock up on my coffee so that I don't miss any bit of the action, so that I could somehow gauge how far South Africa can make it. But I'm still optimistic, irrespective of how they played their first game against Bangladesh. I'm still optimistic because we have one of the best bowling attacks in the entire world, and so I'm looking forward to seeing some really good good performances with the ball ball from your Shibi and Marizan, and also just from the batting side of things, just really seeing that middle order come together, especially with the senior players like your Ming and Dupre. I'm looking forward to really seeing her come into her own in this competition, especially as a senior player. I think she wants to have one of the best World Cups because we don't even know whether she'll be able to come back in the next. And so I think I'm just looking forward to seeing that, and also just at the back end of the innings, be able to see just how good Chloe Tryon can strike with the ball. But moreover, we need some good leadership on the field from Sine, and I'm expecting it to be a good one.
Yes, we are all expecting that we get to see some exciting cricket between Pakistan and South Africa tomorrow. And before we let both of you go, can I ask you, like, who could be the impact players from both of the teams to watch out for in tomorrow's game? Dinesha, if we can start with you.
Yeah, I'm still gonna stick with Maru from Pakistan. I think she's outstanding. Everything that happened to her in the last year and how she's played that innings, I'm definitely gonna give it to her. Although I won't write off Nida Da and Alia Riaz. I thought they're quality players. And just from our camp, yeah, like I said before, the Bangladesh match, we want our senior players to perform, but I'm gonna go with Chloe Tryon with the bat and Shibnam Ismail with the ball.
Right. Lee, who would be your impact players for tomorrow's game?
I'm tempted to say Shibi as well, because history tells us that she has played incredibly well with the ball against Pakistan. But I will still continue to give it to Ayabonga Kaka. I think she's going to be crucial in the middle there. And save some runs for us and get some much needed wickets at crucial moments of the game. So I'm still going for Ayabonga. And with the bat, this is going to be a tricky one because I'd love to say Lizal Lee, but because it's her first game coming back from she hasn't played. She didn't play against West Indies, and so we question if whether she's mentally ready and physically ready to really come in and really knock off the bat, as you know Lizali to be. And so ideally I'd love to go for Lizali. I'm hoping that they'll have a really solid start between herself and Laura Wolford. But I'm also expecting Chloe Tryon to finish for us really strong at the back end. We know. Let me go for Lizali, Chloe Tryon, Ayabonga Kaka, and of course Bisma Maroof. I think she's a superwoman, and I love just seeing her perform. I just hope she doesn't perform so well against us tomorrow.
Wonderful, wonderful, great. So we are less than 10 hours away from this exciting contest between Pakistan and South Africa. So thank you once again, Dinesha, Lee, and Dhanush for joining us and talking to us about what could probably happen in the match tomorrow again between Pakistan and South Africa. The match will be played on 11th of March. It will be played at the Bay Oval in Mount Maunganui, and it will start at 6:30 a.m. Indian Standard Time, and of course 3:30 a.m. if I'm not wrong, South African local time. So do tune in to Star Sports and Disney Plus Hotstar for all the live action. And yes, we'll be back again tomorrow, same time, 8 p.m., to preview the match between India and West Indies that will be played on 12th of March. So all the fans and viewers, do join us tomorrow at 8 p.m. and send us all your questions using hashtag Female Cricket Live. Thank you.